Hey, I want to thank all of you for coming out today and enjoying your lunch with us. Today we're going to talk about grilling, and we have a couple of different, actually we have 4 different recipes that we're going to share with you today. We have, we're going to grill some romaine, which if you haven't ever grilled lettuce or radicchio or some leaf lettuce, it's really a great flavorful dish, and it tastes fantastic. We're going to grill some vegetables here, and we're going to use a Lowry seasoning salt, and we're going to use Splenda brown sugar. So you're reducing your calories by 50%, as well as reducing your sodium by 25%. So this is a healthier option for this particular recipe. We have a chicken marinade that uses a citric acid marinade. We use lemon juice, lime juice, and cider vinegar. That helps change the protein structure of the chicken, so it marinates a lot faster, and as we get into this, it creates a scenario for the chicken that we don't create any HCAs or heterocyclic amines, which can be known to cause cancer with grilled foods. If you char the food really badly, if it's marinated, you won't find that nearly as much. And then we have a peach yogurt that we're going to make with frozen peaches. Toss some yogurt in there, and you have a nice dessert to finish off your meal. So if you have any questions, again, like Josh said, we're going to keep this really low-key, really casual. So if you have any questions while we're moving through this, please feel free to ask Dave or myself.
Yeah, feel free, guys. And there are recipes. Every recipe is at the front there. If anybody wants to grab it, feel free. You guys can make this stuff at home. A lot of this stuff is, keep in mind, too, we are doing this just to make life a little bit easier. Busy world. We're all in the medical field. We all know what that's like. Get home a little later, that kind of thing. Dinner takes a little bit of time to put together. I'm not going to sit around a stove, cook for 2 hours, and then just go to bed. So with that in mind, you're going to see how fast these things can be done. And why we are working with the grilling of everything today. I mean, why do you choose grilling? It's definitely a healthier option. All right, it's definitely way better than any sort of fried food that's out there, any sort of saturated fat foods that are out there. And this is actually a quick way to cook food and make it taste a lot better, basically. So, and as chefs, we like the way it looks. Like, you put a grilled veggies or a grilled piece of meat on a plate for me, I'm like, hey, that's great looking.
Hey, who doesn't like grill marks?
Yeah, they're pretty neat. So that's pretty much really it on that, really.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started with the romaine. And with the romaine, what you want to do is take off some of the outer leaves. This is a red tip romaine that I wanted to use this for a little bit of color variation. And with the romaine, what you'll want to do is, if you're right-handed, you're going to want to take the top of the romaine and point that to the top left. And you want to start from the root end down, because that's what holds it together.
Yeah, make sure you do not cut the root end off. Most people do that whenever we're making salads. Big one with grilling this, we want to keep those leaves together.
So, because if you start like this, it could be a problem for you. You might miss the root. But if you start the root and cut it right in the center, and then bring your hands around like this, and just run your knife through here, you have 2 nice even halves of romaine. Okay, and you'll have 2 portions here. What we're going to do with the romaine is just take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, and we're just going to paint this a little bit. And you can use, if you want to use a low-fat Caesar dressing, this also works pretty well for this recipe.
Or if you just want to keep it what we're doing right now with it, we're going to show you a quick little trick to get a little bit more flavor out of the lemon juice that we're going to squeeze on top of it. We're going to cut the lemons in half. And while Jim's seasoning it up there, he's doing a little Montreal steak seasoning over top of it. Any kind of steak seasoning will work. Just give it a little extra flavor, a little bit of lower sodium. We don't have to worry about putting so much salt on it. I'm going to jump in front of you here, Jim, real quick. Take your lemon, just like this, and we're going to throw it on the grill. Kind of hear those grill sizzles right there. Once it starts hitting those things, it's going to basically, we're going to change the texture of the lemons there. So, and we're going to bring it out a little bit. There you go. You can start heating that up a little bit. There we go.
There we go. Okay. So those of you who are close, you'll start to hear that sizzle, which is what you want to hear. Anytime you're grilling, you want to make sure that your grill is really hot before you add your food to the grill. When you're doing any kind of meats, say you're grilling chicken or you're grilling beef, you want to bring the temperature of your beef or your chicken or your meat closer to room temperature before you start to grill it. Because if you pull something out of the refrigerator that's 38 degrees and put it on a grill that's 400 degrees, what's going to happen to that piece of meat? It's going to burn. So you want to get the relative temperature of the grill and the meat a little closer to each other, so they
We're not talking about
Don't take that
contaminating
long.
your food or anything along those lines.
yeah,
guys.
don't let it sit out for 4 hours.
Yeah,
'cause
we're
that'll
not,
be a
we're not
problem
saying 4
for you.
hours. Half an hour. Just bring it out of the fridge. Let it get up to room temperature. It'll be fine. You're not going to hurt anything. But with the grilling of the lettuces, what Jim's doing right here. Yeah, there you go. It's starting to look a little good there. And this looks really good on a plate, too. You'll see when we put it on a plate. And if you're having guests over, I don't know about any of you, but I grill with friends. Usually it involves music and a few adult beverages. But there you go. Yeah, it's starting to look good. But when you see this, hey, you're serving me a grilled salad, it's something unique. It's something that most people don't think about actually doing. That kind of thing. So, and you can see with Jim, it's not taking that long. It should be pretty close here, right?
Yeah, they're really very close. You don't want to overcook these a little bit, but what you want to do is you want to bring out some of that caramelization, and you want to bring out some of the flavor of the romaine, because it's going to continue to cook no matter how long you keep this on the grill. There's always a certain amount of heat on the grill that's going to remain inside the romaine and remain inside the romaine. That was pretty good, wasn't it? Huh?
Not
Yeah. So that'll continue to cook whatever it is you're grilling. You can also use radicchio, works surprisingly well. Escarole works well.
Endive.
Well. Endive,
Yeah.
leeks work amazingly well. You can grill fennel. What I would recommend is just go through the leafy green section at your local grocery store. Just kind of pick out some foods, throw them on the grill. Some you're going to love, some you might not like so much, but at least you're trying something different, okay? So we'll see how this lettuce is looking here, okay?
Yeah, it looks
See
great.
how nice that looks here?
Yeah,
We've got some
look at
nice
that.
color on here, and we've got a little bit of caramelization.
Starting to wilt. The lead looks good. Yeah.
Yes.
I had a question. So if you have a gas grill
Uh-huh.
and you're putting that on with the flames, because you're using the oil on that, is that gonna like burn it?
I didn't put a whole lot of oil on there. I just brushed it lightly so it wouldn't stick. If you'd like, what you could do is you could take some Pam spray and put that on your grill outside, and then put your romaine lettuce on top of that so it doesn't stick. So that way the grease won't fall through.
Yeah, you're worried about it like just flaming up and everything like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, honestly, yeah, a little bit goes a long way. Just remember that when you're grilling. It always does, always will. You don't want your meat too wet. Or your vegetables or anything along those lines. So, with that being said, yeah, it shouldn't, just a little bit should be fine. Like Jim was saying, if you just want to spray it beforehand, give your grill a good cleaning before it. Actually, what we do, if you'll ever see it, if you're ever in any sort of in an industrial kitchen or restaurant of any kind of line, you'll see rags like this that are soaked in oil, and they'll actually start every time that they take the meat off of it, they'll scrape the grill down with a grill brush, and then just kind of wipe it over with oil, and you'll see smoke rise a little bit, but it'll leave it so it won't stick.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and sprinkle some of the lemon juice on here. Once you actually grill the lemons, the lemon juice will come out of here a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a little more intense, a little more robust because you add a little bit of heat to it. So the lemon juice that comes out is going to be a little bit stronger. So I'm going to actually use this. Sprinkle this on top of the salad. So you've got just a touch of oil, a little bit of Montreal steak seasoning, which does not have a whole ton of sodium on it. So you're adding some flavor, you're adding some color, and you're adding some different texture to lettuce that you ordinarily wouldn't find. So this really makes, I missed the garbage can. Wasn't that nice how that worked like that? A 3-point shot for that lemon.
So the other thing too with the lemons, you're bringing out the natural fructose in it. Yes, it's a citrus acid. We understand that, but there is still sugar in that lemon, and that should give it a little bit more sweetness. And what Jim was saying, that brighter flavor there.
Yeah, and this is great to eat. You want to make sure that you don't eat the root end, okay? Just save that. But the root end is held on the romaine to hold the romaine together when you put it on the grill. And again, this is really easy to make. You can cut the romaine in advance of your meal and just let it go. So we're going to go ahead and set this over here on the table. If anybody wants to take a second look at it, you're more than welcome to. If anybody wants to take a little snip off one of the ears of the romaine, you can do that as well.
Yeah.
So Dave's going to go ahead and show you how to cut some vegetables that we use for grilled vegetables. And we have a seasoning mix here. We call it Magic Dust. Not that it's any sort of...
Did not come out of the 70s.
yeah,
I promise you that
yeah.
much.
There's no relation to Cheech and Chong there about magic dust, okay? Just want to let you know that.
You know, why this stuff works really well, and Jim and I are really big supporters of it, is we don't have to put so much sodium on our food. A lot of times people over-seasoning their food, and with this, you're cutting back on the sugar, which we all love. You're cutting back on the sodium because it's what, I think it's 25% less sodium
Yes.
than normal salt. And but we're still getting a lot of that great flavor behind it. So we're just going to show you a couple quick trips here on what we're going to do, and then I'm going to just put a little olive oil over top of it, and we'll go from there. Show you how to do some stuff. Hopefully you're going to learn some cute little vegetable tricks here. A lot of people, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. A lot of people know how to prepare. Some people know how to prepare vegetables, some people don't. I'm here to show you a couple of really quick ways. Everybody loves zucchini and everybody loves squash. I don't know about you, but my garden is full of them. It always is. Whenever that thing goes, it's pretty neat. But how do we properly prepare them? And that's the biggest thing that I always run into. A lot of times I go into a restaurant, and when they serve me squash in a bowl, it comes in a little half moon like this. If everybody can see that, hopefully everybody can. Okay, the problem with that is that the seeds are still in it. And with the seeds being in it, once you apply heat to them, that turns into water and it turns into mush. I know everybody in here has had that happen to them. So if you go to a restaurant and you want to see a properly prepared vegetable, what you will actually find, if that chef is good enough to do what he's doing, you will see them split this like this. You'll see them split it like this. And we're just going to kind of quarter those vegetables, take it at a bias there. And they will actually remove the seeds from the vegetable.
So what you have here is just the outside of the zucchini or yellow squash, whatever it is you're cutting. And you'll find most of the nutrients on the outside. Anywhere where there's color on the vegetable, you're going to find more nutrients than you would on the inside. And Dave's going to show you how to put these on the grill because they grill up really nicely. They have the nice grill marks on them. And
Right.
They look fantastic on the plate.
That's exactly what it is. So if I'm maybe baking zucchini, I know everybody's seen zucchini boats or something like that. They tell you to scoop out the guts on the inside. Same concept behind it. If I'm going to put this on a grill, I want to make sure that I'm not going to get those seeds and that water there. So I really want to make sure that whenever I do season these, that it's going to look like that. And then we'll just do that and cut a couple more of these just to make sure the plate looks pretty
And
nice.
to give you
Right?
an idea of what we did to kind of pre-prep some of the items here, a lot of you, if you've ever tried to grill portobello mushrooms from the raw state, what happens to your portobello mushrooms? They tend to turn dark and they tend to burn, correct? So what we like to do with our portobellos is bake these in the oven, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of salt and pepper, bake them in the oven until they become kind of limp, put them into a Ziploc bag, and allow that moisture or allow that liquid to leach off the portobello mushrooms. Let them sit in that liquid, and the liquid is going to absorb back into the mushrooms, so the mushrooms are going to be really, really moist when you put them on the grill. And then they spend half as much time on the grill as they would otherwise. So you always want to pre-cook these because if you put them on the grill raw, it just takes too much time. Even though mushrooms are about 90% liquid, pre-cooking them saves you so much time and allows you to really enjoy the whole flavor of the portobello.
There's that.
And years ago, the portobello really didn't exist. Portobellos are actually a marketing ploy from the National Mushroom Association. They used to be called creminis, and I can remember getting these mushrooms because we used to order cremini mushrooms, and when they grew too large, the gills started to come out flat like that, and we'd send them back because we didn't think they were any good. Well, the mushroom board gave them this real sexy name, portobello, okay? And all of a sudden, everybody likes them. It's like Chilean sea bass, okay? Chilean sea bass used to be known as Patagonian toothfish, okay? Would you eat that?
No one eats that.
It's like eating catfish, okay? You don't want to do that, or eating carp, okay?
What was Orange Ruffy used to be named before they actually
The Orange Ruffy had some Aussie name. I'm not
Yeah,
sure what it was.
it was some sort of monster fish name. Please feel free to Google it. But they changed the name and they sold the fish. It's basically what happened. A lot of times that happens in your stores. So as you can see right there, I've got those going. They're going to take a second, but what they will do is they will hold up. So I got some asparagus here because you know what? I love grilled asparagus. I don't know about anybody else out here. It's one of my favorite things. Asparagus is a beautiful thing. Now I'm going to give you a couple trips at this grocery store. You see it and it will be standing straight up, and it will be in a thing of water. You know why the grocery store does that is because they want you to buy their product. They do not want that product to go bad, so they're trying their best to keep that as asparagus goes bad pretty quick, as crisp and as fresh as they can. You'll also notice how fresh asparagus is by where you break it. Whoop, there went that. Wherever that breaks it, that tells you how fresh that asparagus actually was. So if it's a higher break on the asparagus, it's not that fresh. If it's a small break, hey, it's pretty fresh. So that's just kind of neat little grocery store tricks that you want to do. This is so easy to do with asparagus. Honestly, you just take some Pam or olive oil and just throw it right there. Just kind of coat it real quick, and it's on the grill. It's not really doing much of anything. And it takes about, what, 3 to 5 minutes to cook it on the grill?
If
And
that,
it's done.
especially the more slender the asparagus is, the less time it's going to take to cook. You want to remember this, and I know this is common sense, and I know you know this, but when you put your asparagus on your griddle, make sure they're perpendicular to the grill, okay?
They do have a tendency to fall in the
Trust
grill.
me, I can't tell you how many barbecues we've been to, and I look out there and there's like, fallen soldiers in here, okay? Because, asparagus is about $4 a bunch right now.
Something like that, yeah.
And then you just hate to see them fall through there because it's just,
We're not eating them.
we're not eating them. No one's got a chance to enjoy them at all.
So we got a couple of different peppers here, yellow and red. We've all liked them. And the cool thing about any kind of peppers, especially reds and yellows, is you get a lot more flavor once you start grilling them. We all know that. So I'm just going to show you a quick way to kind of come around it. I don't ever use the tops. I know Jim doesn't either. I'm assuming he doesn't at least.
No, I don't.
There you go. And so if you just saw how I did that, I basically just ran my knife around there, and I've got all the good stuff.
Okay.
And this goes in the concept pile.
See the nice brown marks we're getting here on this? And if we had the whole yellow squash on here, what would happen is this yellow squash would be getting really, really mushy and really, really liquidy, and we don't want to do that.
You wanna
Same
throw some
thing has
pepper on
happened here with the zucchini. We've got some red peppers on here.
There's some of those bad boys
Okay.
in there. It does not take very long to do this. Of course, guys, you can throw some onions on here if you want. The recipe that we gave you just involves all these ingredients. And I do believe, actually, Ryan, on some of your salads, you might have had the grilled vegetables on the salad. Yes? I think I had them for 7 minutes.
Yeah, the question
5 to
was,
7
how long
minutes.
do you bake the mushrooms? You want to bake the mushrooms for probably 12 to maybe 15 minutes in an oven, about 350.
Yep.
And you want to bake them till they're a little bit limp, and then you want to chill them, and then take everything that's on your pan, the juice, everything, pour that into a Ziploc bag, but make sure you chill the mushrooms first, because if you pour everything into a Ziploc bag, they're going to go right through your Ziploc bag because they're 350 degrees. I've had it happen to me.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Ruined a really good pair of shoes. So don't let that happen to you, okay? It's just learn from my mistakes.
All right, so that's Jim's kind of showing you there. There's, you can see the grill marks there. And whenever you want to throw a couple of those my way.
Okay,
Start
you're gonna
chopping 'em
make a
up.
platter?
Yeah,
Okay.
make a little platter out of it. And this is, like, once again, guys, with family style dining or grilling, I've said this a million times, like, I just put it all on a plate and let people have it. Like, have at it. I don't want to serve you. I'm not in your restaurant, but
Okay, the asparagus, you can see how it turned from the raw state to where it really turned into a nice, vibrant green. That's about the color that you want your asparagus, because it still has some texture to it, still has a lot of flavor to it, and it still has the lion's share of the fibers. Really didn't cook it out. And those of you over 50, and I'll raise my hand because I am, we all know that fiber is our friend, correct? It's our good friend, right? So what Dave is doing here is he's taking the vegetables and he's slicing them up, and he's going to put them on the platter.
Right.
And I'm going to go ahead and finish the portobellos, which are just about ready.
And guys, I will preach this till the day I die. We eat with our eyes first, then we start smelling it, and then we finally get to taste it. So as you can kind of see with this plate, and I'll hold it up here in a second, you can see the grill marks that are on it. All right? I want to see the browns. I want to see the greens. I want to see the yellows. I mean, the more color, the better on any plate, just because it makes me hungry.
I'm going to put the zucchini,
You want to give me some?
asparagus on here.
Yeah, go ahead. And I like shapes too. Yes, this is kindergarten. We go back to circles and squares and diagonals and all that good stuff. But technically, that's what we know. We just throw a little bit more on there whenever you're ready.
Okay, with the asparagus, I like to leave the asparagus whole,
Me too.
just because it looks so nice. And The asparagus gave up his life for us today for this demo, so we want to have respect for it. Sure. We'll put this here on the bonus plate here.
Their bonus plate there? All right.
And again, one thing, if you look at what Dave's doing, he's kind of separating the colors, so all the colors aren't in one area. So we've got reds, we've got yellows, we've got greens,
Browns.
and
yeah.
we've got the browns, and each one kind of stands on its own. Like you said, you eat with your eyes. If food generally looks attractive, it's 9 times out of 10, it's going to taste good as well. So we have our portobello mushrooms here, and again, if the portobello mushrooms were raw and we had them on the grill,
Oh, it takes so much longer.
we'd be here till, 12:40 waiting for those portobello mushrooms, but these took about 3 minutes to cook. So we're going to give this to Mr. Brue here.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So here's another thing, too. Honestly, guys, we don't want to be grilling them with sugar on them. We want to wait till the end. It says that in the recipe. And the reason for it is, the second that sugar hits a grill, it starts to burn. And once it burns, there's no coming back from that. So at the end, just a tag over the top of it there, just kind of like what you saw there. Just throw it over top of it, and then they're ready to go. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Oh, you got portobellos already?
I already got portobellos on there. We just kind of make that. So there's that, really. That's the first part of, or the first part of our dish there, I do believe.
And this would be great if you wanted to take this dish, and I think you can see, I don't know what you can see from the camera here, but if you look at the dish here, we've got the nice greens, the reds, the yellows, the browns from the mushrooms. Any kind of vegetable that you have that you can grill, by all means do it. If you wanted to throw some radicchio on here and use that as a little bit of a kind of a softer touch on your platter or on your palate, you could do that. But you really want to look at this, and this could be an entree all by itself if you mix this with some whole grains,
Oh, yeah.
whether you want to do like quinoa or just take a can of black beans, saute them, a little bit of cumin, put those in the center and kind of build your vegetables around that. You've got yourself a complete plate. Quinoa is great because quinoa is a complete protein, and that would give you enough protein to carry you to the next meal period. So again, you want to shoot for the high color.
Yep. More color, the better. Now we get to my favorite part, which is the meat. And if you can't grill meat, I don't know what you're doing this for. So a couple of really neat little things. Yes, the HCAs, as Jim was talking about earlier, the biggest part with that is that when you grill meat, you want to make sure that you're not trying to break it open, because if you get the juices that hit down, it causes the flame ups like the one lady was talking about earlier, and that's not good either. And that's basically where your HCAs and your PHAs come from. But if you decide to do what we are doing, which is marinating your meat, number one, it's going to taste a lot better. Number two, it drastically reduces the HCAs on there. So we all kind of recommend that you actually do marinate your meat a little bit more. And when you want to look for any sort of, if you're going to buy them at home, you want to make sure that you want to look for anyone that contain the olive oils or the healthier ingredients. You want to actually look at the ingredients, make sure that you're not buying junk processed, high fructose corn syrup marinades. That's a big one right there.
Yeah,
But
you want to stay away from those because number one, they're going to burn on you.
Sure.
And number two, you don't need all the extra calories and all the extra sugar
Right.
In your diet.
so I go with brown sugar. Number one, I like the way it tastes. I think Jim's on board with me on that. I think it's a little bit more of a refined.
And if you wanted to use the Splenda brown sugar in this particular marinade,
Blended brown sugar, excuse me.
you could use that as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to the regular brown sugar. But what Dave has, he's got some fresh lemon juice, some fresh lime juice. Then he's got the cider vinegar, and the cider vinegar is the acidic part of the marinade that helps change the protein structure of the meat, which makes it appear that it is, somewhat cooked. It's like scallop ceviche. If those of you who have had scallop ceviche, where they use the lime juice, and that helps change the texture of the scallops, where they taste kind of chewy, but they're not really done. Here they're really done because we actually put these on the heat. Most of the time, if you go to like South America or some of the countries south of the border and get scallop ceviche offered to you on the street,
Don't do it.
unless you want to spend the rest of your vacation in the latrine, I would highly avoid eating any kind of street
Reputable
food.
restaurants.
Yeah. It's kind of scary.
So this is really simple, guys. This is a simple marinade. And why we chose to give you this one is because how fast you can make it. Yes, you can, we're in the medical field, like I said before, we work 12s. If you're a nurse, I understand. I'm married to one. She works 12s. And it is one of those things like, can I keep this in the refrigerator a couple of days? Absolutely. You get 3-4 days out of this marinade. I think we've done it before. Like,
We have.
and it makes it taste a little better, to be honest with you. So when you've got that, it's sitting in a Ziploc bag or a Tupperware thing, so we don't have chicken juice spilling everywhere. But very, very simple, very quick. Like Jim was saying, lime juice, lemon juice, a little vinegar, some fresh chopped garlic, and of course a little bit of salt and pepper. Not a lot. You don't really need that much, to be quite honest with you. The mustard and the garlic really kind of help it out there, just a little bit there.
Yeah, and one of the things that I like to do, when I used to be a private chef, every kitchen that I would work in, I would have one of these, and it was a mixture of kosher salt and a mixture of coarse ground black pepper. And I always used 2 parts kosher to 1 part coarse ground black pepper. And I did it for 2 different reasons. Number one, if you pick it up between your fingers, you're going to tend to use a lot less because it's very tactile. You can feel how much is in your finger, so you're only going to season what you think. If you're going to be that person and you're going to grab that little can, that little blue cardboard jug of Morton salt and go like this and season your food, that's a bad sign, okay? You've got way too much in, because once you add salt, you really can't take it back. It's like saying something really terrible to somebody.
Social media.
Yeah, you really can't take it back, yeah. The other reason I like doing the 50-50 mix here, and if you can see here, we can get a close up of my hand. If you look and see the black pepper that we have here, you know that we have double the amount of salt. So the black pepper kind of acts as a marker to when you season your foods.
Yep.
So when you see that you've got that much black pepper, you have twice that much salt, then you've probably seasoned it enough. Yep. And what I like to do as well is when I'm doing this, is you want to season it real high like this. A lot of people will go like this, season it really closely, and what happens is you tend to over-season. So you want to kind of get that seasoning up high. If you have an animal, if you have a pet, dogs probably won't eat the pepper, but you want to season that from up on high, but you may have to clean up afterwards, so that's something to keep in mind.
So yeah, you saw how fast I made that marinade, guys. So the mustard's the emulsifier. I just drizzled the olive oil into it. Gives it actually a beautiful, I think we can see it there. Maybe, hopefully. Nice, good texture. And all you're gonna do is stick your chicken in there. Now I've already pre-done this because obviously, magic of TV. We want to kind of show you that, hey, look at that, that kind of stuff. So with the marinade, like we were saying before, I don't want to get too much of it on the grill. It's gonna burn. So I would try to get a little bit off of there. You guys are going to start smelling this right away. I'm sorry if it smells good. Hopefully you had lunch. And you can kind of see it go right then and there.
Okay, and if the fire alarm does go off, the exits are here. Okay.
Yeah. So, it's going there. Always remember, guys, we want to make sure that we're cooking our chicken to the internal temperature of 165 degrees so that we do not kill anybody. Now, you do not have to cook it to 165 degrees. This is the thing called carryover cooking. So about 160 you'll get it done once you let it rest, just like you properly let all meats rest. All that juice gets back on the inside, and all that flavor, that's where it's sitting at. So it'll usually carry over about 5 to 7 degrees, something like that.
Just, think of when it's on the grill, what you're doing is you're adding heat to the outside of whatever cut of meat you're working with. So you're pushing all the juices in toward the center of the meat. So after it comes off the grill, you want to let the meat rest for about 5 minutes. And you do that to allow the juices to redistribute themselves throughout the chicken. Because a lot of times, say if you have a roast or if you have a steak and you cut it right after it comes off the grill and it just bleeds all over the plate, the reason for that is you haven't allowed those juices to kind of go back into the meat. So you want to allow that to rest for 5 minutes or so. So when you slice it, you're going to get a nice, juicy cut of steak or a piece of chicken.
It's tired. It's been working on the grill for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Let it rest for a second. It's doing its job. It's there to make you some good food. There we go. So give me 20 seconds here, Jim. So hopefully you guys can actually see all that. And I'm going to flip these over real quick. Anybody remembers Ponderosa? It's the 10 and 2. And there we go. That's actually starting to go pretty nice. Depends on where you go. Depends on if you get diamond marks or not. Some people will serve you a chicken breast like that. Some people will flip it over and serve you diamonds. It all depends.
Yeah, you can always tell the cooks that you work with that have the diamond marks on them. That meant that they worked at Ponderosa or some lower-end steakhouse.
Chopped steak, giant hamburger.
Yes.
So there's that. That's going to cook. Like if you guys leave this on the grill like this to make just for the grill marks there, if you guys want to heat it up, I do this all the time just because this is how I like to cook. It's a very French classical way of doing it, but I like the grill marks on it. I take it out. I'll stick it in a pan. I'll shove it in the oven at 350. 10, 12 minutes, something along those lines. Finishes out really nice. So you don't have to, a lot of people will actually overcook their food on the grill because there's so much heat involved there and it's kind of going everywhere. Flames are kicking up here, here, here. You've heard of hot spots on your grill before too. So, but that's just what I do. There's your diamond mark there. You can see the brown sugar in there. It's just kind of already starting to caramelize. So you're getting these nice, pretty, made for TV, picture perfect. I should be having my own show. Someone remember that? Grill marks on your on your chicken. So that's why it looks like it's professional. We are actually caramelizing the sugar. You guys can actually see this. My wife, when she makes it, I don't even know how she does it. I've tried to tell her about 1 billion times, but it comes out white. I don't like white chicken. But I wish I could help her.
You know, one thing that you could do is if you want to take this chicken, if you want the marination process to work a little more quickly, because you should marinate this for at least 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
You take your cutlets, cut them in half, or when you go to the grocery store, get the chicken cutlets so they're already sliced thin. And then when you add them to the marinade, because they're not so thick, the marinade is going to absorb into the chicken a lot more quickly. And then they spend less time on the grill. I mean, you really just need 2 minutes on each side. The chicken's super tender, it's super flavorful, and it works really well. We were at the Newark Fire Department yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, question?
I thought that you could, instead of slicing them, to pound them in the
You could pound them out, but our recommendation would be if you pound them out, put them into a Ziploc bag, or cover your entire kitchen with Saran wrap. The reason, and I say that in all seriousness,
Right.
because once you start pounding that meat, you're flinging chunks of chicken all over your kitchen, and you're spreading salmonella and other pathogens all over your kitchen. So you really want to keep it self-contained. If you don't have a meat mallet and you have a small omelet pan, use that as well. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get through that. Or if you have a small one of the carbon steel pans, like the iron skillets, you could use that as well. But you want to make sure you keep the bottom flat, because if you get to the edge of the pan, it's going to break through the meat. And you're going to have a problem, and then you're going to have chicken breast that's like this, and then it's going to scoot down like that. So you want to be careful about that.
Yep. All right.
So Dave's working his magic with the chicken.
Yeah, these are pretty much done, guys. I mean, like I said, at this point, if you want to stick them in the oven, great. If not, turn one side of your grill down, and then stick them on the side that doesn't have flame going on it. That way, you get a little bit more even cooking, I guess, in a way. It should work there. But hopefully you guys can all smell that. You guys should be able to all smell that. And
And
what's the fire
what's
alarm.
great about this is the next group that's in the room, well, they'll also smell it. So,
All right. So that's pretty much that. All right.
so what we can do is kind of show you what the plate would look like. We could put a piece of grilled chicken on this platter here.
Blah.
And there's an amazing looking plate that, and what makes this fun is you don't have to use just a round plate. What I would do is just go to the dollar store, or go to the, what's the place up on Morse Road, Old Time Pottery.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
pick out something really, really cheap that's not painted, because you don't know whether it's painted with lead paint or not. But find yourself some nice china, and that really helps make the plate look more attractive, because it's just not this round plate that you're used to. You're kind of breaking up the vision of what the plate looks like. So there you have a really, fantastic looking plate, just because it's a little bit different. And that's really an inexpensive way to wow your friends. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the grilled peaches.
Right. I'm going to run and go get
And
peaches.
Dave's going to run back and get the frozen peaches for us that we have back in our freezer. And while we're waiting for Dave, we're going to go ahead and talk about the peaches that we're going to use here. that we're going to grill. And I've got a different grill pan on here for the peaches, and the reason I have a different pan is because we had the meat and we had the lettuce and some other stuff on that grill, and I don't want to mix the two up. So we're going to grill peaches. You could use nectarines in this particular recipe. They work really, really well. Okay, so we have our peaches, and you want to wash these off. And you want to get peaches that are fairly soft. If you press your thumb into the peach, your thumb is going to indent the peach just a little bit. If your thumb goes the whole way through the peach, turn it over, set it down, and just walk away, okay? It's called the perp walk at Giant Eagle, okay? I've done it. You've probably seen me on tape, you know, like we're looking for that guy right there, okay? So what you'll do is with the peach is you're going to put that in here because we have the stone in the center of the peach. So what you want to do is put your knife into the peach, okay, and then turn the peach on the knife. The knife is not moving, the peach is moving, okay? What that does is that gives you a nice even half of the peach. And it should come right off, and it doesn't. These peaches are a little bit underripe. So there we have the half the peach, and this other one here, if it doesn't come out, which this one doesn't look like it's going to come out, you can start to dig it out with a paring knife, and if I have one here. And what you'll do is just kind of work around this a little bit. And you got to watch that you don't go through your hand, which I just went through my glove. Don't let that happen to you. So we've got the pit, the peach pit. And we're going to go ahead and take this out. And there we have the peach pit that's out. So we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of the Pam spray and put that on our griddle here. And we're going to go ahead and put the peaches on here. And this works well for peaches, bananas, strawberries work amazingly well grilled. Grilled watermelon is fantastic. Grilled watermelon with feta cheese, absolutely amazing. Or any kind of fruit with either feta cheese, or if you, anybody like Montrachet goat cheese?
Me? I mean, sorry.
I didn't know it was here. That's always a nice cheese that goes really, really well with fruit. So with our frozen peaches, we have I just bought a 1-pound bag of our frozen peaches at the Giant Eagle Market District. We're going to use some agave nectar instead of honey, and honey kind of has more of a strong flavor, so we're using the agave nectar, which is a natural sugar, comes from the agave plant, which if you leave it hanging around long enough, it will turn into tequila, but not today.
Yeah. There's your summertime party.
There's a summer party.
Yeah. So guys, this is a really neat little recipe. Ever since Jim showed it to me, I've been singing its praises due to the fact that it is so simple if you have a food processor. So simple. You got the guests, they're coming over, you don't have anything for dessert. Well, all this is frozen peaches, which, how hard is that to keep a small bag of frozen peaches in your freezer? A little bit of vanilla yogurt, which most people have in their fridges anyway, I do, and some agave nectar or honey, like Jim was saying. I eat a lot of granola too, so I have all of these things in them, and you just kind of it's really super, super easy, fast ice cream that you don't need any fancy ice cream maker. You don't need to take 3 hours out of your day to make ice cream. A little bit of lemon juice right there. And yes, you can grill the lemons. Remember that too. So.
And if you don't have lemon juice, peach schnapps is a good second for this as well, okay? And remember, when you're cooking with schnapps, one for the cook, one for the food processor. Question?
You're using fresh peaches for the grilling and then frozen peaches?
Yeah, frozen
Correct.
peach. And if you have frozen peaches, fresh frozen peaches, you can use those as well. But generally when they freeze this type of produce, they're freezing it at its peak, and they don't add any sugar to the frozen peaches. So we're going to go ahead.
It's going to do its thing for a little bit there. Yes, the question was, yes, grilled peaches, you can add them, do them yourself if you want to freeze them, just like Jim was saying. That gives you the best of both worlds, and the frozen peach is why we're making how we're making the actual ice cream out of it.
Okay, so we're going to want to kind of beat this down back to the blades so it gets nice and
Chop it
smooth.
up as I walk in front of the screen again.
And what you don't want to do is you don't want to stick your spatula in there when the blade's moving because you have these little white things in your in your frozen yogurt, and that's not good for anybody. Okay, so you can see this is still pretty frozen, so we want to maybe add a little more lemon juice to this so it softens up a little more quickly.
Yep, you can also add a little bit more yogurt. Remember, recipes are guidelines. Yes, they work. But if you need to add a little bit more, depending on your food processor, depending on your oven, that kind of thing.
And depending on how frozen the peaches were.
And depending on how frozen the peaches are.
They came out of one of our deep freezers, so they
where they
were
came from, is what-
frozen. They were 10 below like 5 minutes ago, so.
Yes, if you need to let them slightly thaw too, let them sit out for about 10 minutes.
So you can see here, we've got our peaches, and I have a nice X mark on there. So I didn't work at Ponderosa, but I did work at Red Lobster for 3 days, okay?
He won't give me the cheddar biscuit recipe. I don't know why.
Yeah, I quit it on a Friday night, okay? It was like,
Yeah, it's getting
it was terrible. I was making $2 an hour, and I knew a guy that told me that there was a job across the city for $2.25 an hour, and I said, I'm out of here now.
So that was back in 1917, if you guys didn't know how old he was.
It was quite a while ago.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think Richard Nixon was still in office.
Something like
okay. That. Anybody remember Richard Nixon? Okay. Thank you, thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah, it really does. There you go.
Okay, so this is getting nice and smooth now. We got about, I'm going to say about another minute.
Yeah,
Then we're
about
just
a
going to
minute.
go ahead and
About
scoop
right.
this. And what we're going to finish this with is we've got our grilled peaches, and then we have a little bit of granola that we're going to use to top this with. And the granola adds a little bit of crunchiness to this. We're going to put some of our agave nectar in here, and because I'm a highly trained professional, I know exactly how much I'm putting in here.
That gives it we just want to kick up that sweetness just a little bit. Guys, it's a very quick, simple, way different version of peaches and cream. All right, there isn't a simple thing out there. There you go. Look at that, Jim. It's coming around the ice.
It looks beautiful, okay? If you look at this
Beautiful.
now,
Yeah.
looks
Quick
like
ice cream.
Looks like we're at the Grater's factory, doesn't it? Right now,
I like
okay?
Grater's.
So we're just going to go ahead and
I gotcha.
take this. We've got our handy scoop. Just going to go ahead and scoop this, and you can see it still has the consistency of ice cream.
Yep.
So we're going to put 2 scoops of the peach fresh yogurt in here. We're going to add a grilled peach to this.
Just like that.
We're going to sprinkle this with some granola, and we're going to put some granola on top of the ice cream as well.
You guys want to put a little whipped cream on it? Sugar-free, of course.
Sugar-free, of course.
Yeah.
Sugar-free, of course. And then because I like you guys, a little more agave. This is good stuff, okay?
We've been letting that set for a while. so
Yeah.
it's okay.
And there you have a great dessert. You're using the fresh peaches. You're using the grilled peaches that you can find in the store right now. If you get the peaches and they're really, really hard and you grill it and they're still hard, throw them into an oven at a lower temperature for about 5 or 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes most, so it softens up the peach. Because nothing's worse, because if the peach is not done and you're trying to eat it with the ice cream, what's going to happen? You're going to put your spoon in there, and the peach is going to go whoop, flip right out of the bowl. And that's
Absolutely.
one thing that you really don't want to see. So there's a really nice looking dish, really easy, and this can be made in advance. If you want to make this a couple days in
Absolutely.
advance, and you can do this with any frozen fruit that's out there, whether it's blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, whatever you can find frozen, you can make this frozen yogurt with. So what we're going to do, so everybody can see all of our the creations that we made for you today. We have our, if you want to go up and take a look at these and inspect these a little closer to make sure that your eyes were not fooling you, but we have our yogurt here, we have our chicken, and we have our vegetables. So you're welcome to come on up here and take a
Healthy
look.
grilled
And
What is it? Salad, lunch, and dessert.
yeah,
all there.
and these are 3 grilled things that ordinarily you would never think of putting these 3 things together because they're all off the grill. And you know what? The best part about working on a grill, there's so little cleanup.
It really is.
All you do is you turn the grill up on high, let it cook off for about 15 minutes, come back the next day,
Wipe
take
it
your
off.
grill brush, you're cleaned up. And nothing better than that. I hate cleaning up in the kitchen. Absolutely can't stand it. So
I know, he makes me do it all the time.
anybody have any? He's doing a great job too. So anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Real quick, as far as, the contamination of vegetables and things, how would you suggest the romaine, the asparagus, and the peaches be
Oh,
washed?
yeah, everything we washed off.
Just a rinse?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
to
you
rinse
can-
with cold water and
Cold
with
water, or you can buy the veggie wash at any Walmart, Giant Eagle. I mean, it's everywhere nowadays. Yes, vegetables come out of the ground. There's dirt on them. Wash them.
and the way they're handled, because you go to a grocery store, they're all kind of sitting out there, and you've got moms with babies. Babies are coughing on the asparagus. You want to wash it off. But with the romaine, what you want to do, because it's held in place, you want to take your romaine in a tall pot and grab the root end and dip it down
Yep.
in there, and that pulls out all the impurities
All the dirt just comes straight to the
that's in the
bottom.
romaine, because otherwise you'd have to break it up and clean off each leaf, which you don't want to do because you want to leave the leaves whole. So just you do that, and you do that with scallions, because if you ever hear of any food outbreaks, whether it's at Taco Bell or whether it's at Chipotle, what's the culprit usually? Scallions, because they don't clean the scallions properly, because they're grown in a very moist. They're using loamy soil that has, a lot of tendency to break up. So same thing with scallions. You want to dip your scallions into water, and at the bottom, when you dip your scallions in there, the water's going to shoot up the tube, and all those impurities are going to fall out at the bottom. So you're going to see a bunch of stuff at the bottom of your pot. I would suggest doing it 2 or 3 times to get rid of everything.
Same with the mushrooms, guys, too. I know
Yeah.
we touched base a little bit on the mushrooms on here. Wash your mushrooms. They come to you in dirt. I mean, that's a very simple thing. Just feel, like Jim was saying, once you're done with that, the dirt will sink to the bottom. Just throw them in the pot. Just wash them real good. They're done.
Okay, yes?
Depending on what you're grilling, do you have any suggestions on keeping the lid of the grill open or closed?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. It
yeah.
really does matter. So the question was, do you keep the grill lid on or off? Well, the big thing is if you have it open, you're probably going to get a temperature about 300 degrees, okay? Which you're going to get a high heat, fast sear, all right? But nothing's going to actually cook on the inside of it. So when we close our lid, like I said before, if you want to continue cooking it, instead of taking the chicken off the grill and putting it in the oven inside, turn off half your grill. And once that turns out, you're basically making an oven on this side without actually continuing the flame grilling part of everything. So absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend that if your food is really thick and it's not cooking properly, turn down the heat, put your lid on there, and it's
Yep.
going to bring the heat up a lot more quickly.
Yeah.
And because you've turned the heat down, there's a flame coming up, it's not going to burn and it's not going to get that char, which
Yep.
is what you don't want on your food.
Yeah, don't want the char. And also, guys, if you don't have one already, Jim and I highly recommend get an instant read meat thermometer. Okay, you don't want to eat you don't want your food getting overcooked. You know the temperature, the internal temperature of it. Chicken's 165. Like I said before, I think what's beef 120 for a medium rare or something
Yeah.
along those lines. 130 for a medium. So it's the fastest way to tell if your meat's done or not. Just stick it in there. It's not a big deal.
No, but when you do use that, make sure you take an
Sanitize
alcohol
it.
swab
Yep.
and sanitize that, because
Absolutely.
you don't want to go from chicken that's not quite cooked to steak that isn't quite cooked either, because you're cross-contaminating the 2 different foods that you're working with. So, any other questions?
145, I think. Question was, what temperature is pork loin? Is 140? Yes, pork is a lower temperature. I'm still a bigger fan of cooking it to a little bit higher heat. I don't know if you are.
Yeah,
It's
pork's one of those things, they
it's
recommend
costly.
you to cook it to 165, but the last case of trichinosis in this country was in 1948, somewhere in the suburbs of Passaic, New Jersey. So I'm not really too worried about trichinosis coming back anytime soon. I tend to cook my pork a little bit undercooked, but that's me. I don't have a compromised immune system, so I can do it. But for the average Joe, you want to cook it to 165 to make sure that you've taken care of all
Pork
those.
is one of those things, too. It'll work
all
just
those
like chicken.
pathogens.
It's the other white meat. So as long as you don't cook it past that, you're fine. So You get the 200, it's going to be nice and chewy and, ugh.
Yeah, and keep in mind when you're buying your chickens, those of you, I know you, when you've been to the store and you see the chickens that come in like the 5-pound bag, and they're all frozen, but they're all kind of loose. In the state of Ohio, you're allowed to pump up to 15% of what they call brine solution.
It'll say it
On
on the,
the
it will
chicken.
say it on the label too.
It's on the label, but
Very
it's
tiny
very
print.
small print.
Yeah.
And so what that means is they'll take the chickens, put them on a conveyor belt, spray a brine solution on there, and then freeze it. So that way when they put them into the bag, the chickens don't stick together. But what you're paying for is 15% of salt, 15% of the total price of that bag of chicken for salt water. And number one, the salt isn't good for you if you have any cardio issues. Number two, it changes the texture of the chicken. Have you ever looked inside of a chicken nugget? I mean, anybody dare ever look inside of a chicken nugget, okay? You know what that looks like? It's like there's little pockets of air, and there's little creatures in there, and Ronald McDonald's red hair's in there too, just kind of crazy. That's what the chicken looks like, because when you add that sodium, they actually take a hydraulic, they actually withdraw the liquid out, so it's in a vacuum, so that sodium solution sucks into the chicken. And when it does that, it's drawing in all that salt, so it's drying out the inside of the meat as well, because salt is a drying agent.
It's the same concept when you buy per pound at the grocery store. You'll notice lettuce sold by the pound, like romaine lettuce will be sold to $1.49 a pound. Well, when you spray water on it, it adds weight. Pretty simple stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
when you
you're
buy
paying
fresh
for water.
produce, it's sold by the pound, you sit there, you grab that head of lettuce, grab it by the bottom, and shake it.
Shake it.
Back towards the other lettuce. I pretend like I'm a priest, you know. I'm a recovering Catholic, so I can do that, okay? So any other questions? You guys have been a wonderful audience. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming out, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.